जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जननंदन यशोदानंदन व्रज जननंदन जमुना तीर वनचारी जमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जमुना तीर वनचारी जमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जयं स्वापरं जगचार्य सदस्यमान भक्त की भांत श्री भूषान अनंत कोटि वैष्णविंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी the भक्तवृंद की जय. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna devotees. It appears Maharaj is not here yet. So we're going to play something while we wait for him.
Vedanta Swamin Hite Namani.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this Ekadashi series, Happy Ekadashi. We're exploring the 26 qualities of a perfect gentleman, Srila Prabhupada, and seeing how those qualities can inspire us to also follow in his footsteps and deepen our affection and our relationship with Srila Prabhupada. So today, I welcome our gracious host, Siddhanta Prabhu, who is leading us through these qualities. And we're going to be exploring the quality of being mild today, correct?
Yes, quality number 7 is that a Vaishnava, a perfect gentleman, is mild. And again, I went to the dictionary so we can hone in, what does that really mean? And according to Webster's dictionary, there's 2 words here, and these 2 words will fit, hopefully, the anecdotes of the stories I've selected for today. And the definition is gentle or not easily provoked. Not easily provoked, or gentle, those 2 that we'll focus on today. So I think that I've selected some stories that will give evidence to that quality of Srila Prabhupada. Burijan has a great story regarding Prabhupada being mild. Kumkum Devi Dasi, I'm not sure a lot of devotees know who she is, but she's joined 1971, early days. Kedar Prabhu, who is currently serving in Maui, has a temple there. Nikunja Vasini Devi Dasi, a lot of devotees here in America may not know her. And then we'll end up with a classic story from Guru Kripa Prabhu. Okay. So that's the lineup for today. So everyone stay tuned and take notes. Try to remember the stories that you hear today, because our memories generally are Kali Yuga memories. So write them down, repeat them, and then you'll remember them. these are great examples of Prabhupada being mild. So we'll talk about Burijan's story on the other side. So let's listen to Burijan Prabhu.
In 1972, when Srila Prabhupada came to Tokyo, Sudama, who was in charge, he arranged a program for Prabhupada in Kobe. Kobe had a large Indian community at that time, and there was talk of them possibly donating a temple for us, some land or something for a temple. So we went down there, and Prabhupada was very humble on the way down. He had put his feet up on the chair in front of him where Banu had been sitting, and the conductor and Banu was standing up. So the conductor came by because it's the Shinkansen, the bullet train that goes so fast. And the conductor said, "You can't stand," to Banu, so he had to sit down. So I was in the awkward position of having to ask Prabhupada to move his feet. And so Banu could sit down. So I said to Prabhupada, the conductor says that Banu has to sit down. Could you move your lotus feet? And Prabhupada said, so the lotus-like devotee can sit down. So it was very sweet. And then when we got there, there was this program arranged, and somehow or another, there was a program arranged for the Hindu community there and there were quite a few hundred people, all families. But on the same program, a Mayavadi was speaking. So since they were mostly Sindhis, they have the Punjabi habit of reading from the Guru Granth Sahib. They had a hall that was their hall, and whoever reads from the book, which is the basic Sikh book, sits on this asana. So we told the man in charge, we suggested to him that Prabhupada should sit on this asana. And he said, no, this is for who reads the Guru Granth. And we said, no, Prabhupada is so famous, let him sit there. So he agreed. So the Mayavadi sannyasi came in, and we had asked the head of the Hindu Association to give us money for a garland, a nice garland for Prabhupada. So he said, yes, you can have money for the garland for Prabhupada, but you also have to make a garland for the Mayavadi sannyasi too. So we said, yes. And we ended up making one big garland for Prabhupada, and we gave the Mayavadi sannyasi Prabhupada's prasadam garland from the day before. And of course, the etiquette is he had to accept it, so he just went like this. So when it came time for Prabhupada to speak, we invited Prabhupada to sit on the asana, and with the Guru Granth, which was a Vyasasana, with Prabhupada sitting on it. And then Prabhupada began to speak. First he had us recite verses from the BHAGAVATAM, and Prabhupada spoke in English. And he had us lead kirtan, and Prabhupada spoke in English. And he spoke for perhaps a half hour or 40 minutes. And of course, what would Prabhupada speak about? He spoke against Mayavad philosophy. And then when it was the time for Prabhupada had ended his talk, so it came time for the Mayavadi to speak. So the head of the Hindu society brought the Mayavadi over, and Prabhupada was still sitting on the Vyasasana, and he put up his hand to help Prabhupada get down from the Vyasasana, and so that the Mayavadi could sit there. He was dressed in saffron, big beard, and Prabhupada refused to get down from the Vyasasana. He wouldn't get down. He just didn't acknowledge that he was supposed to get down. So what could they do? And the Mayavadi, of course, was Shanti. So he just sat down in his seat, and they brought the microphone over there. So he began speaking in Hindi, and we couldn't understand. There was about 6 or 8 of us there, and we couldn't understand what he was saying, but Prabhupada just sat very gravely on the Vyasasana, and he chanted, and he was just sort of rocking back and forth, chanting on his beads. And we just imitated Prabhupada, so we just sat there in front of Prabhupada, and we rocked back and forth and chanted on our beads. So the Mayavadi spoke for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, all in Hindi, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and Prabhupada the whole time was just chanting on his beads. And then suddenly, after about a half hour, Prabhupada turns to us. He actually looked directly at me and said, "Stop him." He turned to us. And the Mayavadi was speaking, strongly, and he was fired up, and Prabhupada just looked at us and said, "Stop him." And we didn't know what in the world to do. So then Prabhupada said, "Start kirtan." So in the middle of his lecture, we jumped up and started playing kartals and chanting, jumping up and down and chanting. And we had no idea what was going on because the Mayavadi had been speaking in Hindi. So after the Mayavadi ended his speech, Prabhupada got down from the Vyasasan, and Banu was acting as his servant, so he took him back to the apartment where he was staying. And we stayed around to distribute some books. And then we had no idea what had happened, why Prabhupada had tolerated his speaking or listened to his speaking for a half hour, and then suddenly said, "Stop him." So when we finally got back to Prabhupada's apartment, Prabhupada was sitting behind a low desk, and Banu had brought him his hot milk for the night. And then there was a desk lamp and it was this low light. It was just so dramatic. And we still didn't know what had happened. So we came in and offered our obeisances, and we asked Prabhupada what had happened. And Prabhupada said, first he was speaking all right. But then he started explaining Panchupasana, which means 5 different gradations of demigod worship: Ganesh, Durga, Shiva, Lakshmi Devi, Shiva, and Vishnu. So he started explaining that, Prabhupada said. And then he said, above Vishnu, there is Brahman. And when he said that, this is Prabhupada speaking, and when he said that, I could not tolerate it. It wasn't even like a fanatical thing or a philosophical thing. He just said I couldn't tolerate it, and the way he said it, it just reminded us of Siddhanta Vranta Harana. His Guru Maharaj was opposed to anything against the Siddhanta. It was unique, and it was heartfelt, and it was the actions of a lover, not a philosopher. It was so unique like that. And then Prabhupada, and he looked so satisfied. He wasn't in anxiety, he wasn't angry, he was just sitting there. And the only way I could describe it was like after a cat has caught a mouse. He was almost like purring. He was so happy. And then he said, I am like a lion when I'm out and like a lamb at home.
Hare Krishna. So yeah, now you have both qualities there, the lion and the lamb, the mildness and the strength. Yeah.
Again, mild meaning gentle and not easily provoked. So he was not provoked. It took him 30 minutes before he got
took him 30
provoked.
minutes. Yes. Yeah. That's okay. That's yeah. Yeah.
But mild enough where he wasn't yelling and shouting and debating the guy. The mild process to defeat that is kirtan. So not easily provoked.
Yeah, you can see there is no anger. You know, in the conditioned souls, you know, the response to provocation is that they become angry. And you know, Srila Prabhupada just felt pain, and to hear Krishna's being demeaned in that way, so he had to do something.
Right.
On Krishna's behalf.
Exactly. So now let's hear from Kumkum Devi Dasi. I met her in 1971 in Dallas, Texas. Okay. And she was married to Rishabh Dev. And we'll talk about her story and this quality of being mild or not easily provoked. Gentle, also with this gentleman. So let's listen to Kumkum Devi Dasi.
Then the first time I actually got to see him was in Atlanta, where I had moved soon after reading that Back to Godhead. And he was only going to have a short layover in the Atlanta airport, maybe 2 hours. And so we didn't try to bring him to the temple, but the temple president, who was Balavanta Prabhu, and his wife Balavi, and Taradasi and Jamanjaya came up from Tallahassee. And we rented a VIP room at the airport. And I got to make a cushion for him because we didn't want him to have to sit on directly on the, who knows how clean they were, the seats. And so I was very excited about that. And then when he finally came, I was just completely satisfied. This was the, just to catch a glimpse of him was the satisfaction of everything that I had hoped, but far more so. And so there were a few people that we had told he was coming, and as many people as could crowd into this one room, and some guests. And one of the most important things that I remember from that talk was there was an Indian man there who was not coming to the temple, but somehow the temple had figured out how to reach out to him and brought him to have darshan with Srila Prabhupada. But he was a scientist, and so Prabhupada was talking with him, just chatting, and he asked the man what kind of science, and he says, we do experimentation on animals. And I noticed that Prabhupada was very unplussed. He was just completely composed, and he said, what animals? And the man said, oh, cats mainly. And again, Prabhupada was just as cool as you could imagine. And he said, all the animals don't get a chance? And I could tell how he was very sarcastic. And I had never seen this in such a exalted person. I had never known that sarcasm could still be helpful to somebody. And you could see in the man, it just really helped him to be a little contemplative at least. This was amazing to me.
Yes, not easily, this definition of being not easily provoked is certainly knowing where he was, not reacting in a harsh way. Yeah.
And saying it with just a few words.